be fulfilled in life, you need to succeed in all 7 areas of your life. And your life is made up of the mind, the body, the soul, work, money, relationships, and social influence. Hey, I'm Simon Mucha, and on this channel, I create videos on business, on wealth, and on mindset, so be sure to subscribe. So we are gonna jump straight into it. So the mind. So Marcus Cicero, he's an old Roman philosopher. He said that a room without books is like a body without a soul. Such a powerful statement. So the tip number 1 is Warren Buffett, he reads on average 500 pages a day. And Bill Gates, he reads on average 50 books in a year. And what about Elon Musk? Elon Musk read on average 10 hours a day when he was growing up. So did you know that if you read between 30 and 60 minutes a day, you'll read 52 books in a year. And this alone will almost guarantee your success. So the tip number 2 is seeking a mentor. And why is a mentor important? Because throughout life, you're gonna have challenges. You're gonna be posing deep questions to yourself. Am I doing what I love? Do I love the person I'm in a relationship with? Am I happy with myself? And these are great questions to discuss with your mentor. So seeking a mentor is so powerful. And tip number 3 is joining a mastermind. Joining a mastermind is almost going to guarantee your success. And why is that? Because you're compressing decades of knowledge into 1 year. Decades of knowledge into 1 year through joining a mastermind. And there's a great book recommendation on the mind, and that is Limitless by Jim Kwik. Reading this book is going to help you master your mind. So I'm now going to talk about the area of life, the body. So Jim Rohn said, take care of your body because it's the only place that you have to live. So we're going to move on to tip 1. So the highest performing athletes prioritize recovery. And why do they prioritize recovery? Because it ensures their performance. So what is recovery? Recovery is adequate rest. So sleep experts like Matthew Walker, they recommend sleeping on average between 7 and 9 hours a night. And how can you do this? You do this by giving yourself a minimum 8-hour sleep opportunity. And what is a sleep opportunity? So by the time you get to bed, you set your alarm for 8 hours, and that allows for time for you to fall asleep, and then that's gonna guarantee you sleep your 7 hours, and this is gonna assure that you have the energy to succeed in life. So tip number 2 is we need to fuel our body. And if we're not fueling our body, how can we succeed in life? We can't. And the best fuel for the body is whole foods. So things that come out the grounds and healthy animal products. Yeah, I'm a big believer in balance, and I have a cheat day once per week. But as a whole, focus on your whole meals that are nutrient dense, that have good quality animal proteins. And the next thing that I'm going to be talking about is exercise. So there was a study that said people that exercise on average 30 minutes a day live on average 10 years longer. So with exercise, we need to prioritize strength training, we need to prioritize cardio, and we need to prioritize mobility. So really you should work on those throughout the course of your week. And there's a great book recommendation that I have. It's called Boundless, and that's by Ben Greenfield. He's a biohacker. It's a great book. It's a very big book, but if you read this book and understand this book, it's going to give you the greatest insight into your body. So we'll talk about the soul now. So Paulo Coelho, he's a great author. He said that you'll never be able to escape from your heart, so it's best that you listen to it. So the first thing I'm going to talk about, and tip number 1, is to meditate. So I religiously meditate 20 minutes a day. And why do I do that? Because it gives me great insights to life, but also it gives me a great understanding of who I am. So if you meditate between 10 to 20 minutes every day, it's going to give you a strong foundation for the course of your day and the course of your life. And tip number 2, I'm going to share a little story. So the Navy SEALs, they do a debrief after every mission. And during this debrief, they figure out what went well, what didn't go well, and what they can do better next time. And then they course correct. So with journaling is the same as doing a debrief, but a journaling is debriefing on your life. So you can ask yourself the questions, what did I do well today? What didn't I do well today? And what can I do better tomorrow? And also be grateful for something. This is so powerful. So I journal each and every day. And tip number 3, you've been put on this planet for a reason. And it's your duty to find out what you've been put on this planet for. So ask yourself the deep questions. What do I love? What do I love? And listen to your heart. And also a great question to ask yourself, if money wasn't an issue, what would you do? So ask these questions and discover your purpose. So there's a great book that I'd strongly recommend. It's by Paulo Coelho. It's called The Alchemist. It gives you a great insight to listening to your heart. It's a very powerful book. So we're going to move on to the area of life, work now. So Steve Jobs said, the only way to do great work is to love what you do. So when you find something that you love, and you'll do it if money wasn't an issue, a great question to ask yourself is, now that I know what I love, how can I turn this into a business that pays me? And that's what you should do. It's a very, very powerful question. And tip number 2 is, the more value that you add, the more financially rewarded you'll be. So let's say you're working for an employer or you're building a business. When you're working for an employer, think about how can you add massive value to your employer. Or when you're building a business, think about how you can add massive value to your customers. The more value you add, the more financially rewarded you'll be. And tip number 3 is, the way that you do anything is the way that you do everything. So a small success leads to a big success, and that's really important to understand. So put effort into the small things, and the small things are going to turn out to be the big things. And there's a great book recommendation. It's by Grant Cardone. It's called The 10X Rule. It really helps you expanding your mind and really thinking big with work. So I'm going to talk about the area of life, money now. So Tony Robbins said, the secret to wealth is simple. Do more for others than anyone else does. It's so simple. So tip number 1 is saving. The secret to getting rich, it all begins with savings. Because if you don't have savings, you can't invest. So save at least 10% of your income, and the more you save, the better that you're gonna be. And then tip 2 is, now that you have savings, you have options, you have decisions you can make. So what you wanna do is you wanna invest your savings. And the wealthiest people in the world, they invest first into business, second they invest into shares, and third they invest into property. So invest in several asset classes. And tip number 3 is, that rich people, they live off passive income. So what is passive income? It's when you're earning money when you're asleep. So what is the secret to doing this? So to get rich, build yourself a business. Super important, build a business. Once you build this business, take a percentage of your profits outside of the business. Once you've taken the percentage of the profits outside of the business, you need to invest this money into passive investments. So what are these passive investments? First, shares, and then property. If you're going to invest into shares, I would strongly suggest investing in a diversified index fund through Vanguard. And the funny thing is, when you invest for 30 years, you've got another thing working in your favor. It's called the power of compound interest. And this is the 8th wonder of the world, according to Albert Einstein. And after 30 years, you'll be surprised how much money you have. So there's a great book recommendation that I have. It's called Winning the Loser's Game, and that's by Charles D. Ellis. It's going to give you a great insight into financial literacy and understanding how to get rich. We're going to talk about the area of life, relationships. So you can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you would in 2 years if you're trying to get them interested in you. And that's a great quote by Dale Carnegie. So tip number 1 is recognizing that a flower needs water to flourish. And this is the same for your relationships. You need to put energy into your relationships with family and friends, otherwise they'll perish. So tip number 2 is to treat other people the way you'd like to be treated. Anytime you see yourself talking negatively about another person, it's great to stop and ask yourself the question, if this other person was talking about me like this, how'd that make me feel? It's a great question to ask. And tip number 3, there's a great book by Bronnie Ware, and she talks about the regrets of the dying. And one of the major regrets of the dying was they wish they spent more time with friends. So your relationships and your friendships are so important. Put effort into your relationships and you'll be rewarded tenfold. So there's a great book recommendation I have by Dale Carnegie. It's How to Win Friends and Influence People. And this is going to give you an insight how to build amazing relationships. And really, they are the foundation for a happy and healthy life. So the next area of life I'm going to talk about is social influence. So try not to become a person of success, rather become a person of value. And this is what Albert Einstein said. So the tip number 1 is focus on ever greater levels of contribution or service. So the people that become successful in life are the people that focus on massive contribution or massive service. And the greater the contribution and service that you have, the more rewarded in life that you'll be. So tip number 2 is the universe has a plan for you. And it's your duty in life to find out what this plan is for you. And once you find out what this plan is for you, leave your mark on this world. You're not here for no reason, you're here for a reason. It's important for you to leave your legacy and leave your mark on this world. And tip number 3, it's a great thing to do to reflect on your life. And think about if you were to pass away and you had a funeral and you had your friends and family say a speech at your wedding, what would you want them to say? And whatever you'd want your family or friends to say at your funeral upon your passing is what you should work on building today in your life. You work on building that in your life today, you're going to guarantee a successful life. I've got a great book recommendation. It's Start With Why by Simon Sinek. This is a great book. It's going to help you understand what you've been put on this planet for, and then you can deliver your service to the world and impact millions of people. That's a wrap for this video, guys. I hope you got value out of this video. Hit like, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.